Guys, this is Sports Fan Network. I'm Travis,
I'm Andrew.
and today we're going to be doing our NFL Week 2 recap. We're going to talk about 5 takeaways we saw from this past week. And to start it off, we'll go to the Sunday night game. You know, me as a Packers fan, I thought this was going to be a great game, and man, that just looked like the 2016 the NFC Championship game. That was just disappointing. So my takeaway is the Green Bay defense is still really bad.
Yeah, I mean, they had a really good week in week 1 against Seattle. And, the Atlanta Falcons offense, let's face it, they're loaded still. Even with Steve Sarkisian as their offensive coordinator, they still got weapons all over the field. And the Packers just don't have the matchups right now to kind of slow those guys down. They still have a really young secondary that's kind of working the kinks out. To me, their success in week 1 really had to do with the fact that Seattle, who we could probably get to later on in the show, their offensive line was just awful, and it really allowed the Packers to really dominate them up front. And against a really good team in Atlanta, they just weren't able to get that pressure on Matt Ryan in this one.
Yeah, with Seattle playing the 49ers a week 2, you kind of saw that Green Bay's defense performance was a little bit of a fluke as the San Francisco 49ers really dominated their offensive line, really created more havoc for Russell Wilson, and kind of showed that Seattle's got a really big problem up front with their offensive line.
Yeah, that's been their problem for the last few years is Russell Wilson basically had to go by himself for Seattle on that offense because he's got no protection. And wide receivers, Doug Baldwin's pretty solid. Jimmy Graham's pretty solid receiving option. But, there's got to be some concern for Seattle in their offense, I think, going forward.
Yeah, definitely. And then the second big takeaway from week 2 is the Denver Broncos are really starting to look like that 2015 Denver Bronco form. I mean, who said they can't stop the run? They ended up holding Ezekiel Elliott and the Cowboys like that. And the best offensive line in the NFL is the Cowboys, and they completely shut them down, holding Zeke to, I think, 8 yards on 9 carries. That's just insane.
Yeah, they were ridiculously dominant in that game, and they had a lot of fits for Dak Prescott as well. They were just dominant from beginning to the end. We can see in those 2 interceptions that Dak Prescott had. Zeke Elliott had some effort.
They had some effort problems, definitely.
Yeah, so that's not a good look for the Cowboys. Obviously, there's just a rough game for the Cowboys overall. I kind of pointed out in our preview show for week 2 that I felt like Denver, with that pass rush at home, it might be a little bit just too much for the Cowboys, and we definitely saw that be the case in this one.
Yeah, and I also want to point out, even though their defense looks great, how about that offense? They looked fantastic. Trevor Siemian, he looks a lot better in his second year as the starter. And, this could be a really lethal team if they keep playing this way.
Yeah, how about Trevor Siemian? 4 touchdowns. Yeah, so who thought Trevor Siemian would be – that's 2 great performances he's had in a row. Going back to the Chargers game in week 1, where he had a really nice rushing touchdown in that one. So C.J. Anderson's doing a really good job on the ground, getting a lot of yards. I think he's the second leading rusher right now in the NFL through only 2 games. So, again, there's a long season ahead of them. But if they can continue to play this way, Trevor Siemian in that offense doesn't need to be spectacular, but they can continue to play really good complementary football to really keep that defense fresh and allow them to be the dominant force that they are. Denver could be a very dangerous team in the AFC West.
Yeah, definitely. And then moving on to our next takeaway, it was the Monday night game, the Giants and the Lions. And if you watch that game, holy cow, does the Giants' offensive line a train wreck? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they're awful. Specifically, Eric Flowers, their left tackle. Ezekiel Ansah just dominated him the entire night. And, Eli Manning wasn't the most mobile guy to begin with, but now at 36 years old, he's even more of a statue in that pocket. And, it just blows my mind that, we talked about Seattle earlier now addressing their offensive line issues. The New York Giants, really, that was their only big issue, I think, going into the offseason on their offense, was their offensive line. They needed to address that. They did absolutely nothing to address that, like we kind of pointed out in our previews for them over the beginning of the season. And it really showed. Ezekiel Ansah had a huge game, 3 sacks, and the Lions' defense looked really good against, admittedly probably a subpar offense. They've only scored 13 points for the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah. I'm just still blown away that this is a New York Giants team last year who went 11-5 and could have went to the Super Bowl with that team. They didn't make it. This year, they're hoping for a Super Bowl. You got Eli, who's 36, who's trying to win another ring before he retires. And everyone knew that they had offensive line problems. And for them to completely ignore it is just like a slap in the face. Like, that's unbelievable. This is a team that's one position group away from potentially being the best team in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, just a stat.
That's look terrible. I'll admit that. But that's a lot of the offensive line.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to last year, I mean, they've had, I believe, 8 straight games without scoring 20 points, which is a mind-boggling stat when you consider the weapons they have in that offense with Brandon Marshall, OBJ, Sterling Shepard, Evan Ingram now adding to the mix. You had a couple nice catches in last night's game. I mean, just a lot of problems for that offense in New York, and it really starts with the offensive line. We'll see if they can turn it around. I'm not really confident about that, although.
Yeah. Well, moving on to our next key takeaway. Last year was just a horrible year for kickers in the NFL. Lots of mixed extra points, lots of missed field goals in crucial times. And for this year, for the Chargers at least, it's continued. The rookie Younghoe Koo, he came in and beat their starter last year, Josh Lambo. Everyone thought this guy was going to be really good. And in week 1, he makes the first 44-yard field goal. They called timeout before, and then it gets blocked as time expired, and that's to force the game to overtime. And we all thought, week 2, he could redeem himself, but we know what happened.
Yeah, I mean, he ended up missing the kick that would have won the game. And, this really has been a theme for the Chargers over the past few years where they just can't finish close games, even going back to the last couple of years. So, new regime they've had this year, it seems to be the same case where they've been in 2 really close games going into the end of the fourth quarter. They just haven't been able to seal the deal. On the Dolphins side, how about Jay Cutler looking efficient, not turning the ball over, had a few big plays with Devontae Parker and Kenny Stills in the passing game. It's kind of proof that's really all they needed from him going forward in this season. Thought he played well, but sticking with the Chargers here, yeah, it's got to be a tough break having 2 straight weeks end with a missed kick.
Yeah, I mean, the Chargers, they could potentially be 2-0 if he makes both those kicks. Now they dropped to 0-2. We all know, the very low percentage for teams to start off 0-2 to make the playoffs, and they're trying to make the playoffs this year. So those are really big missed kicks. You got to win those when you present himself with a chance to win, and they did not. So that was big. But, talk about Jay Cutler. That was their first game they played because of Hurricane Irma. In week 1, that got postponed. So, in his first ever regular season action with that Miami offense, I say he did pretty good.
Yeah, he clearly has that connection with Adam Gase still. They seem to be on the same page. And I think the point with the Chargers here, I think the Chargers are a very underrated team going into the season. But with these 2 tough losses, they really need to, continue to work on winning these games close late in the game because they're in a division with Kansas City Chiefs, who look like maybe the best team in the NFL, right now at least. The Denver Broncos, who we just said, they just dominated the Dallas Cowboys. And the Oakland Raiders, who have been another dominant team. So they have 3 elite Super Bowl contending teams in their division. Losing 2 close games like this really puts them behind in this division.
Yeah, and like you said, they're all really good, and they're all 2-0, while the Chargers are 0-2. So they really dug themselves in a deep hole. But going into our last takeaway from week 2, this isn't more about a team but a player. I think, after his performance, I think it's fair to say Derrick Henry is really looking like he's ready to take over for DeMarco Murray. In the first half, the Titans were only up 6-3, and there was not much offensive production. And then just Derrick Henry came in and took over.
Yeah, this is why they drafted him. I mean, ground and pound, smash mouth football. I mean, that's what Tennessee really wants to get after, and Derrick Henry's a perfect back for that. Not that DeMarco Murray is not a great back for that type of system. He proved it last year that, he's a really good back in this system with this offensive line and this personnel. But Derrick Henry's a lot younger. He's big, strong, fast, and he's just he just fits Tennessee perfectly like a glove.
Yeah, just looking at some of their stat lines, Derrick Henry, he finished the game with 14 carries for 92 yards and a touchdown, while his counterpart, DeMarco Murray, he got banged up, and that's when Derrick came in and kind of finished off the game. But he only had 9 carries for 25 yards. And I think the Tennessee Titans, they had 31 points in the second half. I think he really just ignited, a spark under that offense.
Well, it's definitely not a problem to have 2 very talented backs playing well, both of them playing well. So, I mean, they can find a way to better use that 1-2 punch of Derrick Henry and DeMarco Murray. Maybe Derrick Henry gets more carries going forward. But I think you can't discount the fact that, both these running backs are still very good. And, they're going to use them as much as they can, I think, going forward in the season and kind of help out Marcus Mariota in that passing game.
Yeah, for me, I just noticed DeMarco Murray, he didn't really do much in week 1. He also had a subpar performance in week 2. And Derrick Henry's the future, and he looks really good in this game. So I think it'll be interesting to see if they could get him more touches and how he'll do with an increased workload if they start to use him more than DeMarco Murray. But like you said, they're both two really good running backs to have.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's never too bad to have, multiple running backs that can help out, and it'll keep them fresh going forward in the season, and they can find a way to kind of keep their, their carries kind of similar, I think. But I think Derrick Henry, you're right. He's younger, he's bigger, he's faster, he's more explosive at this point. I think it may be time for him to get more carries, I think, going forward this season.
Yeah, well, that's our takeaways from week 2 in the NFL. Let us know what you think in the comments below. It was definitely an interesting week. Roast me in the comments about me saying Green Bay would beat Atlanta. I deserve it. I was confident. So you can roast me in the comments. But stay tuned. We're going to have lots more videos coming out soon. So thank you for watching.